Kane Ashp may not be the loyal partner Phyllis Summers believes he is behind the alliance. A quiet betrayal may already be in motion. At first, Kane was furious when he learned Phyllis repeatedly lied about stealing the AI program for Victor Newman. He vowed revenge and cut ties with her. Then suddenly, everything changed. Kane reversed course and pulled Phyllis into a powerful partnership. That abrupt turnaround has raised serious suspicions that Kane is playing a long game. The motive for revenge runs deep. Kane may hold Phyllis responsible for the final collapse of his relationship with Lily Winters. Lily witnessed a kiss between Kane and Phyllis, a moment that shattered trust and ultimately pushed Lily to leave Genoa City and cut him off completely. To Kane, Phyllis may represent the catalyst that destroyed his family. There is also the darker influence Phyllis may have had on Kane. Spoilers suggest Kane believes Phyllis encouraged his more manipulative instincts, the same instincts that alienated his children and helped drive Lily away. Some insiders even link this shift to Kane's mysterious Aristotle Dumas behavior and mindset. Now, a dangerous theory is gaining traction. Kane may be setting a revenge trap. Instead of attacking Phyllis directly, he could be giving her exactly what she wants: power, control, and status, only to rip it away at the peak of her victory. The most chilling scenario involves the CEO seat. Kane could allow Phyllis to settle into the CEO chair at Newman Enterprises, enjoy the spotlight, and publicly celebrate her triumph before firing her in a humiliating power move and banning her from the building entirely. What makes the trap even more effective is Phyllis's legal vulnerability. Despite Kane's promises of partnership, there are no signed contracts protecting her position. If Kane decides to cut her out, she may have no legal defense and no leverage to fight back. Phyllis may already sense something is off. Even she seems surprised that Kane invited her into the plan in the first place. But instead of trusting that instinct, she appears distracted by bragging rights and the thrill of winning. That blind spot could cost her everything. If Kane truly is setting the trap, Phyllis may soon learn that the greatest danger is not Victor Newman. It is the partner standing right beside her. The young and the restless spoilers. Is Phyllis walking into Kane's trap? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we need to talk about something that's been nagging at me ever since Kane and Phyllis announced their partnership. Because the more I think about it, the more convinced I am that Phyllis is walking straight into a trap. And not just any trap, a revenge trap that Kane's been carefully constructing since the moment she betrayed him. So, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because if I'm right about this, what's coming for Phyllis is going to be absolutely devastating. And honestly, she might deserve every bit of it. Alright, let's break this down. Now, you might be thinking that Kane and Phyllis are genuine partners in this Newman Enterprises takeover. You might believe that they've put their past behind them, that they're working together toward a common goal, that this is a real alliance. But here's the thing. Nothing about Kane's sudden change of heart makes sense. And when something doesn't make sense in Genoa City, it's usually because someone's plotting something. Let me take you back for a second. Phyllis lied to Kane repeatedly. She stole the AI program that was supposed to be their ticket to success, and she gave it to Victor Newman. She betrayed Kane in one of the worst ways possible, choosing Victor over their partnership, choosing her own agenda over their agreement. And when Kane found out about this betrayal, he was furious. We're not talking about mild disappointment here. We're talking about rage. Kane vowed to get revenge on Phyllis. He made it clear that she was going to pay for what she did to him.
He wasn't subtle about it.
He wasn't ambiguous. He said the words. He was going to make her regret crossing him. So, fast forward to now. Suddenly, Kane's changed his tune. Suddenly, he's offering Phyllis a partnership. He's including her in this massive plot to take over Newman Enterprises. He's treating her like an ally, like someone he trusts, like someone he wants by his side. And this is where things get interesting, because that kind of turnaround, that kind of sudden forgiveness after explicit threats of revenge, that doesn't happen. Not in real life, and certainly not in Genoa City. People don't just forget betrayals of that magnitude. They don't just decide to trust someone again after they've been stabbed in the back. So, what's really going on here? Well, the spoilers are suggesting something that honestly makes perfect sense. Kay might be playing a long game. A very long, very patient, very calculated, long game designed to give Phyllis exactly what she wants right before he rips it all away. Think about it. What's the best kind of revenge? It's not immediate retaliation. It's not a quick strike that Phyllis could see coming and defend against. The best revenge is making someone believe they've won, letting them celebrate, letting them feel powerful and successful and untouchable, and then pulling the rug out from under them when they least expect it. And that's exactly what Kane might be doing. But before we get into how he's setting this trap, we need to understand why. Because revenge isn't just about the betrayal over the AI program. That's part of it, sure. But there's something much deeper, much more personal driving Kane's potential vendetta against Phyllis. Lily Winters. Kane's relationship with Lily didn't just end. It collapsed. It imploded in a way that destroyed any chance they had of reconciliation. And who does Kane blame for that? Phyllis. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Lily witnessed a kiss between Kane and Phyllis. And that kiss, that moment of betrayal, that image of Kane with another woman contributed to Lily's decision to leave Genoa City. It contributed to her cutting ties with Kane. It helped destroy what they had together. And Kane knows this. Kane understands that Phyllis played a role, intentionally or not, in the final collapse of his relationship with a woman he loved. Maybe he thinks she encouraged the kiss. Maybe he thinks she manipulated the situation. Or maybe he just associates her with the worst period of his life and he needs someone to blame. Either way, in Kane's mind, Phyllis is responsible for losing Lily. And that's not the kind of thing you forgive. That's not the kind of pain you just get over. That's the kind of wound that furs, that turns into obsession, that demands retribution. So when Kane looks at Phyllis now, he's not just seeing the woman who stole his AI program. He's seeing the woman who cost him Lily. He's seeing the reason his relationship fell apart, the reason Lily left town, the reason he's alone. And that makes this personal. That makes this about more than business or professional rivalry. That makes this about revenge in its purest, most destructive form. But that's not even the whole story. Because there's another element to this that makes Kane's potential betrayal even more devastating. It's what the spoilers are calling the Aristotle Dumas factor. For those who don't remember, Aristotle Dumas was Kane's darker persona. It was the manipulative, ruthless side of himself that he brought out during his schemes. And according to the spoilers, Kane may blame Phyllis for encouraging that side of him, for bringing out his worst impulses, for pushing him to become someone his children couldn't respect and Lily couldn't love. Think about how twisted that is. Kane's blaming Phyllis not just for the direct harm she caused, but for what she turned him into. He's blaming her for his own moral compromises, for his own bad decisions, for the way he alienated the people he loved most. Now, is that fair? Probably not. Kane made his own choices. He's responsible for his own actions. But fairness isn't the point here. The point is what Kane believes. And if Kane believes that Phyllis corrupted him, that she's the reason he lost his family, that she's the architect of his downfall, then his desire for revenge goes beyond anything we've seen before. This isn't just about getting even. This is about destroying the person he holds responsible for destroying his life. And this is where the trap theory starts to make terrifying sense. Because if Kane's goal is to make Phyllis feel the same kind of loss and humiliation that he felt, then what better way to do it than to give her everything she wants and then take it away? Phyllis wants power. She wants status. She wants to be the CEO of Newman Enterprises, to sit in that chair, to have that title, to prove to everyone in Genoa City that she's a force to be reckoned with. She wants to win. So Kane's giving her exactly that. He's making her believe this partnership is real. He's letting her think she's about to achieve her ultimate goal. He's building her up stroke by stroke, promise by promise, until she's convinced that she's finally made it. And then when she's at the peak of her triumph, when she's settled into that CEO chair and is ready to celebrate her victory, Kane's going to strike. He's going to pull the rug out. He's going to publicly humiliate her in a way that she'll never recover from. The spoilers even suggest a specific scenario. Picture this. Phyllis walks into Newman Enterprises on her first day as CEO. She's probably dressed to the nines, ready to take her throne. She sits down in that chair, probably takes a moment to savor it, to feel the power of that position. And then Cain walks in, not to congratulate her, not to celebrate with her, but to fire her publicly in front of everyone. He tells security to escort her out of the building. He bars her from ever returning. He makes it clear that she was never really his partner, that this was all a setup, that she fell for it completely. Can you imagine the look on Phyllis's face in that moment? The confusion, the shock, the dawning realization that she's been played, that everything she thought she'd won was just an illusion Cain created specifically to crush her. That would be devastating. That would be the kind of humiliation that Phyllis would never live down. And that's exactly the kind of revenge someone like Cain, someone who feels deeply wronged, would want. But here's what makes this theory even more credible. The legal situation. Despite all of Cain's promises about partnership, despite all the talk about them working together to take over Newman Enterprises, Phyllis hasn't signed any official contracts. There's nothing in writing. There's no legal protection for her position. She's operating entirely on trust and verbal agreements.
And that's insane.
Phyllis, of all people, should know better. She's been in business long enough to understand that verbal promises mean nothing. She's been burned before. She knows how this world works. So, why hasn't she insisted on contracts? Why hasn't she protected herself legally? The only explanation is that she's so caught up in the excitement of the win, so focused on the end goal that she's ignoring basic common sense. She's letting her desire for victory blind her to the obvious red flags. And that blind spot, that's going to be her undoing. Because without a signed contract, Cain can do whatever he wants. He can cut her out of the business whenever he chooses. He can claim she was never really a partner, that she misunderstood their arrangement, that he never promised her anything official, and Phyllis would have no legal recourse, no way to fight back, no way to prove that he betrayed her. She'd just be left standing there humiliated and powerless while Cain takes everything they supposedly built together. Now, let's talk about Phyllis's intuition for a second, because even she knows something about this doesn't add up. The spoilers mention that Phyllis was initially surprised when Cain included her in this plot. She didn't expect him to forgive her. She didn't expect him to make her partner. She was caught off guard by his generosity. And that surprise, that moment of wait, why is he doing this? That was her intuition telling her something was wrong. That was her gut warning her that Cain's sudden change of heart didn't make sense. But did she listen to that warning?
No.
Instead, she pushed it aside. She let herself get swept up in the possibility of winning, of finally getting what she wanted. She chose to believe in Cain's partnership because believing the alternative that she's being set up would mean walking away from the biggest opportunity she's had in years. And that's how traps work. They exploit your desires.
They give you something you want so badly
that you're willing to ignore your own instincts. They make you complicit in your own downfall. Phyllis is being offered power, status, and victory. She's being offered the chance to take down the Newmans, to prove she's smarter than Victor, to become the CEO of one of the most powerful companies in Genoa City. Of course, she's going to take it. Of course, she's going to quiet that voice in her head that's telling her this is too good to be true. But that voice, it's probably right. Think about Cain's behavior throughout all of this. He's been calm. He's been patient. He's been almost too generous with Phyllis, including her in decisions, treating her like an equal, making her feel valued. And none of that matches the man who vowed revenge just a short time ago. People don't change that fast. Not without a reason. And the reason in this case is probably that Cain's acting. He's playing a role. He's pretending to be the generous partner while secretly planning Phyllis's destruction. And Phyllis is falling for it because she wants to believe it's real. She wants to believe she's finally winning, that she's finally outsmarted everyone, that she's finally going to be on top. But here's the thing about Phyllis. She's made a career out of scheming, manipulating, and betraying people to get what she wants. She stepped on people, lied to people, used people, and now she might be about to experience what that feels like from the other side. Because if Cain does pull this off, if he does set her up for this massive fall, Phyllis is going to understand exactly how all of her victims felt. She's going to know what it's like to trust someone who's lying to you. She's going to know what it's like to believe you've won only to have everything ripped away. And the worst part, she'll have no one to blame but herself. She ignored the warning signs. She didn't protect herself legally. She let her ambition override her common sense. She walked into this trap with her eyes wide open, choosing to believe what she wanted to believe instead of what the evidence suggested. Now, let's talk about timing. Because if Kane is planning this betrayal, when does it happen? Does he wait until Phyllis is settled in as CEO? Does he do it on her first day, or does he let her have the position for a while, let her make decisions, let her get comfortable before pulling the trigger? My guess, he waits until the moment of maximum humiliation. He waits until Phyllis has publicly celebrated her victory, until she's bragged to everyone about taking down the Newmans, until she's so invested in this role that losing it would be absolutely crushing. And then he strikes. Because that's what makes revenge satisfying. Not just defeating your enemy, but making sure they feel every bit of the pain you felt. Making sure they understand exactly what you went through. Making sure the punishment fits the crime. Kane lost Lily. He lost his family. He lost his reputation. And now he's going to make Phyllis lose her greatest triumph. He's going to make her feel the same kind of devastation he felt when his world fell apart. It's poetic in a twisted way. It's revenge as an art form. And if Kane pulls it off, it's going to be one of the most memorable storylines this show has done in years. But there's another angle to consider. What if Phyllis figures it out before it's too late? What if she realizes what Kane's planning and turns the tables on him? Because Phyllis, for all her flaws, is not stupid. She's a survivor. She's been in situations like this before, and she's found ways to come out on top. So maybe, just maybe, we're going to see Phyllis have a moment of clarity. Maybe she's going to realize that Kane's being too nice, too accommodating, too forgiving. Maybe she's going to start asking questions, demanding contracts, protecting herself. And if she does, we could be in for a whole different kind of showdown. Not Kane betraying Phyllis, but Phyllis and Kane in an all-out war where both of them are trying to destroy each other first. That would be fascinating to watch because both of them are smart, both of them are ruthless, and both of them have reasons to want the other one destroyed. It would be a battle of wits and manipulation where the winner gets everything and the loser gets crushed. But based on the spoilers, based on the way this is being set up, my money's on Kane being the one with the upper hand because he's the one who's been planning this from the beginning. He's the one who's been patient, who's been strategic, who's been thinking 3 steps ahead. Phyllis, meanwhile, is too focused on the prize to see the trap. She's too caught up in her impending victory to notice the warning signs, and that overconfidence, that blind spot is going to be her downfall. Let's also think about the broader implications of this. If Kane does betray Phyllis, if he does publicly humiliate her and kick her out of Newman Enterprises, what happens next? Does Phyllis just accept defeat? Does she slink away and lick her wounds? No way. Phyllis doesn't go down quietly. If Kane does this to her, she's going to want revenge of her own. She's going to want to make him pay. And we could be looking at a revenge cycle that goes on for months, with each of them trying to one-up the other. Each of them trying to inflict maximum damage. And the collateral damage from that kind of war, it's going to be massive. Other people are going to get caught in the crossfire. Alliances are going to shift.
Secrets are going to come out.
The entire landscape of Genoa City could change because of this feud. But here's what I keep coming back to. Even if Phyllis does figure out what Kane's planning, even if she manages to protect herself or fight back, the trust is already broken. The partnership is already poisoned. There's no way these two can actually work together long-term. Not with this much resentment and suspicion between them. So no matter what happens, the Kane and Phyllis alliance is doomed. The only question is who destroys it first and how much damage gets done in the process. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Because this storyline isn't just about Kane and Phyllis. It's about the Newman Enterprises takeover. It's about what happens to the company, to the family, to all the people who are going to be affected by this power struggle. If Kane and Phyllis are too busy betraying each other, if they're too focused on their personal vendetta, then they're not actually focused on running the company they supposedly took over. And that creates an opening for the Newmans to fight back, to reclaim what's theirs, to turn this whole situation around. Victoria's already made it clear she's not going down without a fight. Victor's dealing with an AI attack, but once he handles that, he's going to come back with a vengeance. Nick's got his own crisis, but the Newman family has a way of rallying when they're under attack. So, while Kane and Phyllis are playing their games, while they're setting traps and planning betrayals, the Newmans might be quietly preparing their counterattack. And when it comes, it could wipe out both Kane and Phyllis in one fell swoop. That would be the ultimate irony. Both of them so focused on destroying each other that they don't see the real threat until it's too late. But let's get back to Phyllis for a second, because I want to talk about her character arc here. Phyllis has always been someone who takes risks, who goes after what she wants, who doesn't let fear stop her from making big moves, and that's admirable in some ways. She's fearless. She's ambitious. She refuses to be underestimated. But that same fearlessness, that same ambition is also her greatest weakness because it makes her reckless. It makes her ignore warning signs. It makes her trust people she shouldn't trust and make deals she shouldn't make. And if this revenge trap theory is correct, we're about to see Phyllis pay the price for that recklessness. We're about to see her learn a very painful lesson about trust, about protecting yourself, about not letting your desire for victory cloud your judgment. The question is, will she learn from it? Or will this just make her angrier, more vengeful, more determined to destroy Kane no matter what it takes? Knowing Phyllis, it's probably the latter. She's not someone who takes humiliation well. She's not someone who just accepts defeat and moves on. If Kane does this to her, if he does pull off this betrayal, he better be prepared for war because Phyllis is going to come back at him with everything she's got. And honestly, that's what makes this storyline so exciting, because whether Kane succeeds in his revenge or Phyllis figures it out and turns the tables, we're going to see fireworks. We're going to see two master manipulators go head-to-head in a battle where only one of them can win. So, here's what I want to know from you. Do you think Kane's setting Phyllis up? Do you think this whole partnership is just an elaborate revenge plot? Or do you think maybe, just maybe, Kane's actually sincere about working with her? And if Kane does betray Phyllis, do you think she deserves it? After everything she's done, after all the people she's betrayed and manipulated, is this just karma coming back around? What about the legal angle? Do you think Phyllis is going to realize she needs contracts and protect herself, or is she too caught up in the wind to think clearly? And finally, who do you think comes out on top in this situation? Kane, Phyllis, or the Newmans taking advantage of their enemies fighting each other? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your theories, your predictions, your takes on whether Phyllis is walking into a trap or if she's got this under control. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, because when this storyline explodes, and it will explode, you're going to want to be here for every update. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, in Genoa City, your allies are often your worst enemies. Stay dramatic.